pure divine, and I lost myself within the fire, breaking free from my desire. A heart of gold forged to inspire. It's starfire. It's starfire.
What's going on, everyone? And today's video is going to be a little bit different than other ones. It's going to be my reasons why you should purchase an RSX, and also kind of why I like my RSX. So without further ado, I'm going to get started. We're here at Canyon Lake right now. Figured I get go somewhere special to film this video. So I'm gonna start really broad, and I'm going to kind of like get into more specifics as I go. And my first point is the price. These cars, for what you get, they're relatively cheap. You can find them depending on the vehicle miles, paint, interior, all that stuff, anywhere between $3,000 to $6,000. And keep in mind, these are strictly for the Type S models, specifically here in the US. I know New Zealand and some other countries have them as well, but they're a little bit detuned compared to these here in the US. So Type S models here in the US, and yeah. Okay, so like I said, price is a big factor for what you're getting. You can find these really pretty cheap, and they have a lot of potential. And yeah, so that's it for the first point. Like I said, it's gonna be kind of broad, and then I'm gonna go into more specifics. All right, and my next point here is the platform. And by platform, I mean the chassis, the body of the car, the way it looks, and just like the interior, just the car itself. These platforms are shared across Honda Civic SIs. The only difference on these is they have a wider wheelbase, and the rear suspension is a little bit more complex on the RSXs. And the reason why these platforms are, or why I like these platforms, is because there's a lot of parts for them. You know what I mean? Coilovers. You got a lot of options for coilovers. And these cars are really, really nice. Like, I think they're aesthetically really pleasing to look at. They got really beautiful curves and lines. And with these cars, I feel like you can do whatever kind of build you want with them as far as cosmetics go. You can get this car, put some like crazy camber on it, and slam it to the ground, and it plays it off pretty well. You can go for a more track focused car and look, kind of how like mine is, and it plays it off like really, really nice. You can also do just like a street look, get some like coilovers, lower it a bit, and have it stock looking, and it looks really, really good stock. You don't have to do much to make this car look good. And yeah, so that's pretty much it for the platform. I'm gonna go on to the next topic here. All right, next. Going to be 2 in 1: reliability and just having a car that's practical. So if you guys don't know, these RSXs do feature the K20. This one in particular is a Z1, the 6-speed manual transmission, and with it being a 2-liter 4-cylinder naturally aspirated, you can imagine these things get pretty decent gas, depending how you drive it. I believe they're rated 24 city and 31 highway, if I'm not mistaken. And for having a little a sporty sports car, that's a pretty good and healthy figure. And then being an inline 4, especially K Streets, these things run forever. And what helps these cars also is they're hatchbacks. I know that a lot of people are actually surprised when I tell them it's a hatchback, or when they see it's a hatchback. It retains like a sporty look because it's a 2-door. And you can't really tell it's a hatchback. Both of these seats actually fold down. And and you can fold the seats down, remove the driver's seat cover, and you can fit a lot of stuff back there. There's a lot of room to put things in there. And I put my bumper back there before, my front bumper, when I got it resprayed, and they're really practical. If you don't got a big family, you know, if you have a wife and a little baby, these cars do have the baby latches for the baby seats. And yeah, so they're really practical, good on gas. They run forever. My car in particular, I bought it with 160,000 miles, now running 195, and it's running really strong. I'm on a K-tuner stage 2 reflash with the whole exhaust system and intake, and I'm going to do a full bolt-ons and dyno tune it. So and I'm pretty confident on the car, so that can give you some perspective on how reliable and, you know, practical these cars are. Alright, next we got is the tunability, and these things have huge aftermarket support. Like I said before, these feature the K20s. Actually, the RSX was the first vehicle in Honda's lineup to ever feature any kind of K-series. And if you guys are in the tuner scene, I'm sure you at least heard of the K-series. People are swapping them into pretty much everything. I've seen 240s, I've seen RX-7s, Miatas, you name it, you know, and extremely popular with another Hondas. You know, these things they're just really great if you want to do a full naturally aspirated build. You want to do just bolt-ons, if you want to boost it, they do it all. And I read on a bunch of forums. I actually don't have any experience there, obviously, with my car being naturally aspirated, but these things on like 8 pounds of boost, push like 300 wheel safely. People daily, they beat on them and without any worries. And they can handle anywhere between 350 wheel horsepower and 400 wheel horsepower on the stock motor. And I think that's pretty insane, considering these are naturally aspirated high compression motors from factory. And Honda does a great job with these. You know, they run to the ground. Like I said, I'm on the original motor, almost hitting 200,000 miles now, and there's no sign of fatigue. It's good. You know, just video oil change, you'll be all right. And you know, not just motor. You know, like boost wise.
God damn.
They do it all, you know. They're not just like good for like tuning them to go fast in a straight line. These things are a great platform just to have fun in, you know what I mean? Just get some coilovers, sway bars, control arms, bushings, and these things handle like a charm. Only downside is these are an open diff compared to the SI. They do have a little bit of differential. Unfortunately, this has an open diff. You can obviously install a limited slip, and that will waken up the car up a lot. Should help with the torque steer and just more, you know, the drivability of the car. And yeah, so yeah, like I said, there's huge aftermarket support for these. Like, you got a bunch of options for coilovers, for bushings, sway bars, you know. Like I said, you know, these K-series are popping off, you know, so there's tons and tons of support, and there's a bunch of routes you can go with these motors and these platforms. Next up here is the driving experience. Alright, driving experience. These things are a blast to drive, man. Before I tweak suspension and all that stuff, you guys have seen my channel. I pretty much did like a whole overhaul on my suspension. So we got coilovers, control arms, bushings, we got solid motor mounts, and we got some other things that I think I'm forgetting to mention. But these things are a blast to drive. These things stock have a rev limiter at 8,200 RPM. So just being up in the rev range, it's just a lot of fun. These cars aren't too quick, or, you know, it's subjective from factory. They do all right, but they're really fun to drive. When you're in VTEC and you got the motor, these VTECs, these motors sound really good. Some people like to put 4 cannons on them, but I'll just give you guys a listen here. driving experience. Like I said, 8,200 RPM with the K-Tuner reflash. Right now it's set line to 8,600 RPM, and these things are just really, really fun. They handle really well. There's just a lot of fun to drive up in these curves. And yeah, like I said, you do have to push the car for it to really move. It's true about these engines, these K-Series. You definitely have to be up in the power band for it to move. But I feel that's just part of the experience. You know, you got to work for the power, and it's super satisfying when you're in there in the power band. And these cars, they handle pretty well. Like I said, they're really predictable. You know what I mean? You know the limit to the car, and you don't have to drive this car with fear. And that actually leads me to another point. Like I said, these cars are super, super reliable. You know, just do your maintenance. And I just drive this thing, you know, the city, you know, just relax, you know, granted shifting, you know, 3,000 RPM shifting. But when I'm on it, you know, I don't hold back. And the great thing about this car is I don't drive this thing with fear. I know some people, when they have cars, sports cars in particular, when they floor on there, they might get a little bit scared. Like, oh, you know, is it going to blow? Is something going to break down this time? You know what I mean? With these cars, you can drive this thing with full confidence. I take this thing to Pace and to Flagstaff. I take it on road trips, you know, and I don't have to worry about this thing breaking down. I have confidence in this car, and I drive it without fear. And I think that's a big thing, you know, with these cars, to be able to do, you know, just to drive the hell out of them and not have to like be afraid of it breaking down. I think that's a huge plus. Alright, so next up is cool factor. And these cars, if you guys are in the scene, you know, tuner scene, or just the car scene in general, you guys know that Hondas tend to have a lot of hate. And I can see why people hate on Hondas. You know, a lot of people just like to throw floor cannons on them, you know, slam them to the ground, and just be super obnoxious, you know what I mean? And that's cool, you know, it's your car, you can do whatever you want with it. People have their preferences, and people just do what they do, you know what I mean? So no hate on them, you know, but I can see why people would hate on them, you know what I mean? And I feel with these cars, they avoid a lot of that hate, and almost like, not really respect, but like people just don't really hate on these cars. And that's something I noticed here, me owning this car, going to car shows, car meets, and talking about my car to other people. It really, people seem to like this car like a lot. Part of it being is at the time when it came out, back in anywhere between 02 to 06, it's when these cars were produced and in production. The tuner scene was popping off, you know what I mean? Too Fast and Furious, you know, Tokyo Drift, all the Need for Speed games, Mainline Club. The scene was at its peak, you know what I mean? And this car was brand new, and this was the car people were looking up to at that time. If you were in the tuner scene, featured the K20 motor, 6-speed manual transmission. It was, you know, VTEC this, VTEC that, and these cars were not cheap for what they were at the time. I believe they were anywhere between $25,000 to 30 grand, and considering the time and the car, it wasn't cheap. And I think that adds like a certain cool factor, because not everyone could afford that car at the time. So you had to be either really have a good paying job or an adult to have this car, and that kind of like kept it out of the reach of people, teenagers, you know, people in high school and junior high school that really wanted this car but just couldn't really afford it. And with that being the case, actually a lot of people that compliment my car when I go to shows and all that tend to be older people, anywhere between their 20s to late 30s. And they always say, hey man, these cars are awesome. I remember playing it in Need for Speed, you know, oh, I remember when these came out, bro, they were so badass. I wanted one so bad. And that kind of puts a smile on my face, just because, you know, people just have this little respect to them, you know what I mean? And even now, they're not necessarily cheap for a Honda, you know, considering how old the car is, almost 20 years now. They're not necessarily cheap either, you know, so not everyone could just like go and like, oh, I'm gonna go buy an RSX, you know what I mean, compared to other cheaper Honda Civics, you know. No heat on them. I'm just explaining how these things are not really so easily attainable, you know. And people that have them either super loud, either keep them stock or they just mod the hell out of them. And yeah, just having these cars it's just a cool looking car, and especially when you see one modded, people just tend to appreciate them, you know. So yeah, it's a big cool factor on these cars here. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it. As far as the reasons why you should buy the RSX, me obviously being a little bit biased and knowing one, I would say definitely recommend, definitely buy one. These things are a lot of fun. And yeah, I don't want to ramble on too much, just because I want to keep this video pretty short. And yeah, so yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. I appreciate you guys watching, and stick around if you guys are new to the channel. I do a bunch of like car stuff. I saw videos on RSX, a lot of car vlog stuff, and all that good business. So thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you